you can't outpost lack of integrity. Like you can't show up with another launch or another post or another Instagram story or whatever, to try to cover up the things that you know you're doing when no one's watching. This kind of all came to a head for me when I realized that I had cleaned up pretty much all areas of my life in terms of boundaries with clients. Like I was holding my standards, raising them even more, like my pricing, I was good. Like there were all of these other pieces that I was cleaning up. And there was one area that we all know what that area is. Like the one thing that we're like, oh, like I'll clean up everything else. Like I can hold a boundary, I can open a savings account, I can do this, right? Like to align with this person. But this one thing over here is so uncomfortable. It's just better left undone, or like just maybe all these other things will outdo that or like cancel it out.
Welcome to Queen Bold EQ podcast, where I share with you the mindset, energetics, emotional intelligence, and habits required to transform your health and manifest your dream body. I'm your host, Lauren Saracione, a 20-plus year fitness professional, lifelong entrepreneur, and I have self-healed my chronic pain and my emotional eating. And I am here to share with you the spiritual and the practical so you can transform your health and manifest your dream body. Oh, you guys, this is episode 11 of Queen Bold EQ, and I am so excited to share with you one of my fempreneur friends, Haas. And we are going to be talking about emotional intelligence and a really juicy post that I saw she put up on the IG a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it was only 2 weeks ago, that really caught my attention and made me want to have her on. And so before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about her. She is a full-time business coach with a focus on organic sales, emotional intelligence, and integrity in the coaching space, which you're in the coaching space and you saw the Facebooks a month ago. We know we had some integrity conversations. So why don't you turn your camera on and join us? I cannot wait for everybody to meet you.
Hello.
Yay, there she is. Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm so excited to do this. And you and I think we've known each other since May or June when we were in the mini mind together. I was trying to think of like when that was, but I'm so glad we reconnected and are doing this. And you're just like, you literally have the best energy. So I was excited. I was like, it's 8:00, but like, I feel like I drank a cup of coffee after talking to you. So
Yeah. I'll give you some of my Aries rising energy for sure. So thank you for being here, and tell us a little bit. I gave a little bit of a snippet, but tell us a little bit more about you and what your vibe is in coaching. And then we're going to dive into why I asked you to come on the show.
yeah, I mean, I really started out with fitness, so I resonate so much with even your messaging and what you put out. And I felt very limited with just putting out like workouts and what I was eating. Like there was so much more going on with my body and my mind at that time that like allowed me to find this sustainable lifestyle. And so I had grown that business when I was 23 to about 25. And my best friend started to notice, like, what are you doing? I hate my job. I want to become a relationship coach. Like, how are you doing all this? I was going through a breakup. So she supported me with relationships. I supported her with business. And then I just had like the breakthrough of my life and saw her create the impossible, not settle on what she wanted and just go after it. And she ended up leaving corporate 4 months sooner than she planned. She replaced her full-time income right away. And I was just like, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because I feel like I can go so much wider with business, because it's like, it's really about creating like a higher level of your life and like higher standards of your life. And the byproduct is obviously helping more people and making more money. And so that is the thing that I love. It's like, you know, your whole life changes when you raise your standards in one area or you show up more powerfully in one area, and the ripple effect that it creates is so amazing. And like, I just feel like I am really here, yes, to teach organic sales and marketing and all the things I nerd out about. But also, I think I'm here to help people create their version of having it all and just truly never settle in their desires. And that just came from like me seeing, women or female figures, not going to name names, growing up, just really settle on what they wanted to do or who they wanted to be with or where they wanted to travel because of what other people, I really think for me, it was just seeing so many people say no to their desires growing up. And it didn't make sense to me. And I'm like, why is this? Like, why are people holding themselves back? Why are they going with this job that their parents want them to do? And then I also was graduating with a lot of people from high school. I came from a small town. Like, there's a lot of people who stayed there. Like, it was just kind of this thing where I was like, I am going to break generational patterns here by like going after what I truly want to do, even if no one supports me. Like, I will show up for myself and believe in myself and give something for people to believe in. Like, I just trusted based on how I felt that it was all going to work out. And here I am today and created a 7-figure brand before 28. And it's just like helped so many people. And it's amazing. Yeah.
So that was exactly like, I was like cracking up to myself. I'm going to see if I can get us back on Facebook while I say this. I was cracking up to myself when you said that you did the fitness thing from 23 to 25. And I was like, she was that young. And then the more you were talking about the conversation, I was like, oh no, I remember her story. Like, I know this, but I didn't realize you were so freaking young.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, like, before I forget, like, cause I want to, like, you said something that is like really like part of the reason why I'm so into this is because I did so much, but I always felt so bad about myself that I didn't notice. Like, when I went through like a checklist of like the things that I accomplished in my 20s, I had an international textile business.
Oh my
And
God.
like, who does that? I was working with factories in Egypt and China and Los Angeles. And it was like, I never recognized anything. And so when like I did a lot of my inner work to figure out, like, in the last 3 years, like really heavy duty stuff, that like I really made myself feel all of my suppressed emotions and like all the things that I was running from, I was able to actually look back and like have some appreciation for myself. And so the thing that's like sticking out to me so much is that you said that right away you saw how people were settling and you were like, no. So I always wonder, when I look at how much emotional work I've had to do, I always wonder, why was it so hard for me? Why does this like self-confidence come easily for some people? Like, or why do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like, can you speak a little bit to that? Like, is it you? Is it your chart? Was it your upbringing? Like, what was that fire in your belly that you felt that like
Well,
aware?
here's the really crazy thing about this whole story and what makes it full circle is exactly what you just said. Like, I was watching all these people settle and just go with the grain, follow the system, school, college, good job, benefits, all of that. And when I was noticing this at a young age, I didn't know how to communicate it. I didn't know how to act on it or whatever. So how it came out and manifested was rebelling a lot, like, like staying out late or lying about where I was, or like, I was this very rebellious, like between the ages of 13 and 18, I was like, no one is going to tell me what to do. But I didn't know that that could obviously translate into a career called entrepreneurship. But at the same time, this resistance to actually truly being who I want to be manifested into anorexia of 2 years. So I was from 16 to 18, I got down to like 89 pounds, same height I am right now. And that story and sharing that on social media ended up being what sprung the business, right? Because people followed the story, they connected to it, they were DMing me. And then I shared my recovery from that. And so I don't believe I really have come to a place of feeling confident, honestly, until this past year, in terms of consistently raising my standards, holding my standards no matter what, even when others leave or don't accept them, right? Which truly takes confidence. But I also think it's self-trust and following through on your commitments. And even though I was someone who has followed through on a lot of commitments, it's just like, because I still was carrying around this identity of I'm the black sheep, like my family doesn't understand what I do, all of these things. And the fact that, relationships have been a weaker area in my life because I've been busy building this business. Like, it was always me trying to find, where am I not, or what am I not doing enough of? And so I think, coming into Steph's world, changing my business model, like doing all these things this past year, like I honestly faked it until I made it, up until this, I believe. Like, I was running and growing like with this scared mindset of like, oh, like when I have X amount of money in my bank account, that's when I can work on my confidence. That's when I can like focus on coming back home to myself, or like intimacy in my relationships. And like, honestly, it was a lot of that. And like, just choosing, like, even though I don't feel this yet in my body, like, who do I get to surround myself with in the meantime? Or what behaviors do I get to change that would align with where I'm going? Right. And then it just got to a point where I was like, rather than changing the behavior, you have to change the identity. And the identity is what you believe in about yourself. Stop trying to change the behavior or change how much you post or what you sell or how much money you make this year. It was always external that I was trying to manipulate, change. And yeah, it worked. I hustled my ass off, right? Like, you can still make money this way, be successful, whatever you're doing. But it really comes down to when that success goes away, or you have a low month, or a client leaves, or something happens, your confidence goes right back down. It's because the beliefs are still there. The beliefs are the same. You're just trying to cover it up by changing your behavior. So I had to really work on this year, shifting my identity. Like, I am someone who's committed when no one's watching. I am someone like who shows up for myself and who is brave, because that's the person I want to be, not so that I can get a client. Like, it was always attached to, I'm changing this behavior so that I can get the outcome, when it's like, what if I just like embody the person who already had the outcome, because I believe I'm that person. I want to feel better in my life. I want to be happier. And that was like, it literally changed my life, like noticing that, catching it, and then continuing to like work on this shadow work, trauma work. I've done so much over the past couple years, and I feel like it finally landed and clicked in place. But fake it till you make it. It works, but to a degree. If you are trying to change the behavior and the beliefs are the same, it's only going to last so long. So yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today. So I was thinking about one of the programs with Steph, and how she was talking about like, do you hate social media? And she was talking about the feelings that we may have that are negative about social media. And I felt like I know what she was doing. She's like helping people get into their emotions with this thing with their business to reflect back what emotions are actually in them. And sometimes like I would DM Stephanie, like when something was happening energetically that I was tuned into and she was in alignment with it, whatever she was teaching, she'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. Like, it was just so funny. But you could like hear her saying that, right? Okay. Like,
Yes.
but so like everything that you're saying is like exactly the same thing with diet and exercise. It's like, we'll grind it out. We'll like be doing all this stuff from a state of lack because we think that like once we get the body, then we're going to feel that certain way. And it's just like the coolest thing to like be in business. Like I was raised by entrepreneurs. And so it's like business has always been like, really?
Both my parents. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like always been like a part of life. And now it's like the rise of the internet, or like whatever you want to call it, or the feminine energetics. It's like we're really being self-reflective of like, if we want to build this life because we're manifestors, because we get to co-create, where are the blocks and how can I use this thing that I'm trying to build as my reflection to what's actually going on inside of me? And that just excites me.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
everything that you just said. Yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah. I have a dog that wants to come in. Hold, please.
Yes.
We will keep scratching. Hi, come here.
I have a Frenchie. I get it.
Oh my God. He's so old. He gets priority. It's like,
Oh,
yeah, this is Coco. Okay. So the reason why I think I must have DM'd you within minutes of
yeah.
you posting this. I was like, wait a minute. So everyone, this particular post I'm actually going to put into the show notes so that you can get to it right away. My internet is a little funky, so I have like a spinning wheel right now. But basically what I was looking at was that, and you've said it, you've already been touching on it, is the identity piece.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, when I'm doing the mental emotional work and I'm doing the trauma work and the shadow work and stuff, I'm like, these are all mental emotional identities.
Yeah.
These are all emotional experiences that we have had, especially in this 0 to 7, that little mind made the feeling mean something about the person's worth. And if we look at what life is like, to be able to survive, we need to have money. And we also want to have a certain amount of status in the tribe. Like, because I just keep going back to primal, like to primal stuff. Like, we want to stay alive. We want to have value in the tribe so that we can stay connected in the tribe. Because if we get out of the tribe, we're dead.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is where these like deep rooted fears and like, why do we have these blocks and these negative beliefs? Okay, they're mental emotional identities. How can I change my emotions and my identity to match being healthy? Da 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 da. So that's like what my brain is usually kind of like in the vibe of. So you guys, I have this post. It says the things I did when no one was watching that had me become a match for making 200,000 more in 12 months. We've got holding standards, the cleanup, everyday behavior, the cleanup, the problems, the cleanup, the evolution, the cleanup. And we go back and forth. She shows the personal cleanup, the personal stuff, and how it affected the business. And one of the things that I know I had to clean up was a self-worth issue. I felt like I had to, like, once I had the earning, once I had a business established, it meant I was worth my salt.
Mm-hmm.
So I have always done something in business. And when I was like at my peak, worst, low vibe, grinding it out is when I would have really bad chronic neck pain. And then eventually had like a psychosomatic break of my neck fully going out and dealing with, yeah, like I had a disc slide up and under the one above it.
Oh,
I didn't have like an accident. Like, and when I learned about the mind body connection, it was all stress. Your body can't be under that much tension for that long. Like, something's going to give.
yeah.
So I want to talk with fempreneurs like you who are like identifying with this mental emotional stuff and how it shows up for you. And so I would love for you to riff on that and like really, like, if you're talking to your person, to yourself 10 years ago, or like whatever it is, or like what was on your heart when you made that post, and like what was the fire that you wanted to give to people. I'm all about fire today.
Yeah. Yeah. So my whole thing, and this is like something I just say all the time, is like you can't outpost lack of integrity. Like you can't show up with another launch or another post or another Instagram story or whatever, to try to cover up the things that you know you're doing when no one's watching, right? But that like you're trying to like get to the next milestone, or even like in fitness, like you're trying to get to a certain goal or a certain weight or the way that you look. And it's like, you know, that you are out of integrity with something, right? Like it's not aligning with someone who has the results that you want. So you keep trying to overdo it with cardio or, you know, bodybuilding or whatever it is.
Mhm.
So this kind of all came to a head for me when I realized that I had cleaned up pretty much all areas of my life in terms of boundaries with clients. Like I was holding my standards, raising them even more, like my pricing, I was good. Like there were all of these other pieces that I was cleaning up. And there was one area that we all know what that area is. Like the one thing that we're like, oh, like I'll clean up everything else. Like I can hold a boundary, I can open a savings account, I can do this, right? Like to align with this person. But this one thing over here is so uncomfortable. It's just better left undone, or like just maybe all these other things will outdo that or like cancel it out almost. And so I was growing, like business was great this year. Like I felt great. But here I was online, and my whole message is like how to basically never settle on your desires, create your version of having it all. So I am someone who pretty much up until last year, I was like, I'm just going to be like Devil Wears Prada, power bitch. Like I am literally just going to be super successful.
I'm like laughing at your Kim Kardashian Halloween outfit. Like that reel just popped up in my head.
Yes. But I just had it in my head, like, I will just be really successful. My sister is the one who's going to have the kids. I'm going to be this businesswoman, basically. And so I had this identity for so long that that was going to be my life. And so a lot of times, you know, I would just attract a lot of relationships that had a huge expiration date, right? Like the person had addiction problems, there was codependency, like all these things, because again, I was embodying like, I'm going to grow my business. This isn't an area that like I want to really grow, or I don't care about growing because I'm just going to get hurt. Like all guys are the same. I mean, I was like so in that victim mentality with this mindset. So what ended up happening is I attracted a partner who was very avoidant. We were together off and on for 3 years. And he just like, he was non-committal. Like I wasn't his person. He was never in love with me, crazy about me. But here I was going, oh, like potentially, you know, maybe one day he will. So I'm just going to keep trying. I'm going to make like all the effort, whatever. And he's going to turn into this person. Okay. Like he's going to show up for the relationship. He's going to do all these things. So I stayed, I fought for it. I broke my own boundaries. Like I lowered them to make him happy. Like I was doing all these things. And this past year, you know, my sister had her first baby, and all of a sudden I meet my nephew and my heart cracks open. Like I'm like, oh my God, I like want kids now someday. Like, because I just close to him so quick. And now my vision changed. Like I was like, okay, my version of having it all is the business travel. And now I actually do want a family. But here I was staying with someone who didn't see anything long term with me, but wanted to keep dating, wanted the comfortable relationship or situationship. And I just kept letting it happen. And I was just going back and forth, taking them back, like letting them treat me badly and accepting it, painting red flags white, like all of these things I was doing. And Steph and I had hundreds of conversations about it. I mean, because I felt so out of integrity. Like if my clients knew that I was doing this and settling on this situationship or whatever for 3 years back and forth, it's not even in the same wavelength as my brand. Like it literally does not match. And that was the thing that I wanted to put a pin in. Like, okay, I'll deal with this later. He'll eventually change. Like, hopefully he'll, you know, step up so that I don't have to clean this up. Like, that was kind of my mindset. And so there just came a point where I just said, you know, so much is going to open up for me if I let this go. And I really like say goodbye, because first of all, if I'm not his person, he's not mine, right? Like I just had to accept that. And I was no longer, just like with clients or everything else in my life, going to hold on to potential. Like there is no future relationship. The relationship just is what it is right now. So if nothing were to change, am I happy? And the answer was no. And so we had a conversation. I closed that door, right? And so it just was like I was grieving, like not the relationship. It was more so for me and identity. I felt like I lost the relationship a long time ago. It just was the identity. And so when I did this and I talked about it in that post, like it was the hardest thing to do, because, you know, this person was someone I knew for 3 years. They were like a best friend to me at one point, and we had grown a lot together and all these things. But I see it with clients all the time. Like, it's like they come back to me and they're like, oh, a client has this problem, or like they keep coming back to me with this problem. I'm like, how would you coach them? What would you do? And I'm just like, okay, are they a mirror for you, or are you actually leading them like with that problem? And they're like, oh shit, like, like they keep coming to me with this thing because I'm doing this over here. So while I was holding on to that relationship, clients were coming to me left and right. Oh, like my client's being so out of integrity. Or the client would show up in a different way than they were showing up online. And I'm like, this is totally hitting me in the face. Like, if I care about my clients and their growth, and that's just my only motivation right now, and it's not myself, like I just get to do it for that sole reason. And Steph was with me through the whole thing because I was just like questioning it, making exceptions for it, justifying it. And so it's those things. And I just use that as an example because I overstayed in that relationship so long. And here I was, like, everyone on the internet thinks I'm this like never settle, like boss ass bitch, like literally like can like hold her standards. And here I was, like, behind the scenes breaking them left and right just so this person would be comfortable. And I just got to a point where I had to clean it up. And I just think it's other things. Like, it's our relationship with money. It's how we take care of our money, despite how much is in our bank account. Like, even when I had a shopping addiction when I was 23 and starting my business, there were Amazon packages that would show up of things I already had because I was buying so much. Wow. Like, yeah, just my boyfriend was like, this is out of control. Like, you literally have this already, like, stop. And it got to a point where like he had to like take my cards and like change my login, and like it was that bad. And it just was like, okay, I'm like, want to be here long term, you want a future. Yes, you're young, but that's not an excuse. Like, it's like, okay, with whatever money you have or make, at corporate, I was making like shit money, like just for what I did. Like, I just believe I shouldn't have been paid what I was, but I could have done something with that money. Now, I think that this is also something I wish I touched on more in the post, but I really got to a point where I had to know the difference between playing with money and moving money. There's a big, big difference. Moving money is like, I'm moving money to Steph, right? I'm moving money to my team. I'm moving money to continuing my education. I'm basically moving money in the hands of people that are going to help me make more money, right? Versus, oh, someone paid in full, I'm going to go randomly buy this handbag just so I can feel more wealthy and successful and all these things for 5 minutes, right? And then it goes away. I could have spent that $5,000 on, my next mentor or a course or a program, or like putting it away for my future, right? And moving the money towards an investment account or something like that. And I just think that when I was younger, especially when I first started business and I started making all this money, I was playing with money more than I was moving it. And I think the thing that entrepreneurs in general can't sit with, and this is the part that I wish I expanded on more, and I think it's been in other posts and stuff, is I really cleaned up, like, okay, you have to be okay with, in the beginning, your output, meaning the money that you move, your energy, how consistent you are, might be higher than your results and what you receive, right? A lot of people can't sit with this. They want to, like, their results are up here and what they have to move and do is down here, right? So like they pay for cheaper coaches, or like they like do things that, yeah, like sound nice, like shiny objects. They invest in a website, or I'm just like using examples, but like they do things that aren't actually going to move the needle forward. And so I think that like that was one big thing I cleaned up, is like, okay, I can't preach like long-term wealth and this and that when I'm over here like ridiculously spending money on like $200 dinners or like, whatever. Like, it's unnecessary. And it's like, that's not me being as smart as I can. It's not being in scarcity. It's like just knowing when it's appropriate. So I love to play with money, but from a place of overflow. Like, this doesn't even touch the sides of my bank account to like buy this dinner or like do this thing. And I'm celebrating myself. It's out of desire, not a need to prove anything. It's like a soul investment versus like an ego investment. Like your soul feels this pull towards this thing and you go for it, the coach, the bag, like whatever it is. And you don't care if anyone knew about it. Like you're like, I'm doing this for me. Like that is completely fine. It's just when we do it out of like, I'm buying this thing to prove something to myself that I'm successful, or to prove to people online when I take a photo with this designer bag that I'm like this successful person. And it's like, like I had to really check myself. And so I just want to name those two things. Like I could go on and on,
Men
but
and
like,
money.
yeah, they were the biggest things, men and money, like for sure, that I had to clean up. But yes, yes.
Yeah, well, it makes so much sense, and I can like totally go off on a tangent with it. But I just have to tell you this because we'll see, because I know you'll say something amazing and then we can close it out. I had this weird thing like before I started making money, like in my 20s, like with my first couple of businesses, I put this in my head. I always put weird shit in my head. Lauren, if you are able to buy a Louis Vuitton bag, you better not buy it. You better donate that money to somebody who needs it. So lo and behold, I have the money to buy a bag. So I buy an $800 Louis Vuitton bag. I fucking hate it. It always falls off of my shoulder. It's worthless. I still have it. Like I can't bring myself to sell it because I'm just like, I don't know. Like I just don't even want to go through the process of like selling it. And I felt so guilty. Like I had to like try to not make myself feel guilty when I bought it. And then I always felt guilty using it. And as like I was like, in different stages of my life, like when I was married, it was like I didn't really spend a lot of money. He spent a lot of money. I did not spend a lot of money. There was like a big energetic block around like what was reality and what was told to me, and like I just couldn't hear it. And so like I had a long period of not spending money. I didn't even do my hair because I was so convinced we were broke. Yet he was buying very many expensive things. And it was just a very bad relationship. I talked about it a little bit in one of our mastermind calls.
Yeah.
And, and then like this last year, my experience with money, it was like I lived paycheck to paycheck, not like in like destitute, but it was like I spent money on food and supplements and like a couple of like Target shopping sprees every once in a while. But all of my money, like literally just was like churning. A client would pay me, it would go right back out, but I didn't feel bad about it. I felt stressed about it sometimes, but I didn't feel like I was giving my money to my two mentors. I didn't feel like it was them. I felt like it was the thing that was calibrating me up. And I had total faith that like, that's what was gonna do the thing. And now that like now I'm in that period, right? Like I'm in high output. I don't have the results yet. I saw a post that you did the other day talking about like, I forget how you phrased it, but it was like a cooling period when you kind of switch gears and your audience is like, wait, what are we doing?
Yeah. 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 Like they're trying to catch up to everything that you're doing, especially if you've changed things. And like, it's our responsibility to like, as we're evolving, first of all, I want to invest in people that evolve. So like, there's no problem with that. People do too. It's innovative. It shows that you're brave, all these things, right? That people want in a mentor. But like, on top of that, I think there's this, Steph calls it the wobble period. Remember, like she like says it all the time, but it's like, that is where like, I believe who you really are. That's where it comes out. It's when no one has reached out. It's when like, it feels like maybe months have gone by and things are slow, things are quiet. Like, it's like coming back to who you are, how powerful you are, why you started, like all these things. And realizing though, like how much is within your control. The only things that are outside of our control are when people buy, who buys, and what they buy. Like, and then we have a list of like 50 million things, like the posts that we make, the stories, the vibe, like how we dress, like going live, like what we sell. There's endless amount of things that are still within our control. And it's like, I just think that's so cool. Like, it's like, and there are going to be times in business where it's like stillness and silence. okay, perspective shift. What if that just means that's a time for you to like get creative, or cool, no one's buying. I have the time to like make more content or open up a TikTok because I don't have one, or like start a like you did. Like
Yeah.
it's there's so much within that space that you can do. Or maybe the answer is you get off your phone and your laptop and you go actually connect with the feeling again that has nothing to do with anyone else. Go on a walk, play with your dog, like go hang out with your friend, laugh until you cry. Like it's like those are the moments that a client can't give you, a payment can't give you, but it brings out who you actually are, not someone who's chasing something, not
Mhm.
someone who's attached to anything. And so I like forced myself to do those things, and I did it consistently. And now it's like I'm just so neutral when there's like stillness and silence. And I
Mhm.
just immediately reframe it. Cool. Like I can work on more shit for my team. Like I can like do this. And I still go all the way through with the launch. Like people ask me that all the time. If no one buys in the beginning, do you continue the launch? And I'm like, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like because it just means I get to get louder. It's an invitation for me to step more into my confidence around the offer, like
Mhm.
simplify the messaging. Like there, it's yeah, yeah. Go
Mhm.
on and on.
Mhm. Yeah, like everything that you're saying is how I was feeling about food when I switched into an anti-inflammatory diet in 2020, because it was like for me to eat the foods that cause me problems, it's just like not worth it.
Mhm.
But to be able to, it was, I mean, to be honest, like it was pretty easy to make the decision to stick with it because it was so uncomfortable if I did eat it. But then when I was like, okay, and I want a six pack and I want to be lean and I want to be vascular and muscular at rest. Like I want to have this like superhero body. Okay, can I freaking do it within the limitations of this teeny tiny little list that has like zero roughage to like fill my stomach? So I know I'm going to be hungrier than if I was able to eat all of these like traditional foods, right? Like that was like the really scary part of it of like will I even be able to do that? So like, what you're saying of like going out on the walks, like feeling the feeling of like having this like superhero body is what I would do. And then when I like felt like I recalibrated with my mentors last year, I was like, okay, like I'm going to apply everything that I did to get my body back into a state of health to do the thing for the business, you
Yes.
know? And so I just love everything that you're saying. That's exactly the conversation that I wanted to have of like how we're looking at the things that we're doing versus who we're being and what that identity is. And so before we sign off, I want to know like what's your next level? Like where do you see yourself in the next 3 months or even in the next 12 months? Like what do you feel is pulling you?
I have such a strong desire to bring this same conversation at a larger scale to like programs and things like that, like coming out with programs about integrity and cleaning this stuff up because I have so much experience with it, holding clients, supporting clients through it. And I just think like, I think people are craving a lot more. Like, yes, would it be easy for me to continue another year of just all strategy programs? 100%. Like, I can teach launching with my eyes closed, right? Like,
Mhm.
attraction marketing, all these things. But it's like, sometimes I felt myself as the year closed, I noticed that I was still holding on to that identity of I need to teach strategy, or this is how people know me, or I can't teach anything else, or they won't understand. And it's like, no, like you've built the authority and like all these things. People know what you know. They want to know more of who you are. And I just think that like I'm stepping more into a mentorship kind of role rather than just like coachy like
Mhm.
stuff all the time and constantly teaching. I've been doing that for 3 years. And so I want to do that. With that's going to come a lot of innovation. Like I want to create offers that like actually sound crazy, like the format, the way that I'm doing them, whether it's the experience, whether it's like, I don't know, doing a whole program that's like all recorded audios or like, and it's a whole different experience. I just want to, yeah, I really want to do that. And I think for me, like I don't have money goals. Like I don't set them for myself. It's worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's more so about like, the money is always a byproduct of how many people we're reaching all the time. and the connection that they feel to us. And so I want to be more vulnerable in my content. I want to, again, come out with more masterclasses where people can feel my heart and see and I experimented with it at the end of the year behind the empire. I was sharing all the relationship shit like in that masterclass. And I'm like, oh my God, I just exposed so much. But all of these people were flooding the chat and the DMs after, and were like, oh my God, I feel you though. I respect you on a whole other level. And that wasn't the point. It was just I'm craving it too. I'm noticing that I'm done just being the strategy, robotic coach. Because it's yes, go to my page. Clearly I know that stuff, but it's that's not, it's I have so much more to give. And I just think I have been giving it. It just hasn't been in the quantities that I really want to. And it's been from me overcoming my fear of intimacy. That was a huge wound that took 2 or 3 years to get over. And now that I feel I'm finally I love having intimate connections with people, but also just closer relationships. And now it's time for me to have it in my business because I have it with myself now. That's just really where it comes from. So that's what I'm craving. That's the update for now. That might change, but yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. And do you have anything? So we're on January 24th right now. This podcast will probably be up in the next 15 days. Is there anything time sensitive that we need to announce? Or are we just going to send people to your IG?
I mean, honestly, I have so many offers all the time. It is like a circus over there. I highly recommend, seriously, I love it though. I have so much fun. Just go to my Instagram. I mean, there's highlights for everything, all my offers and stuff. Watch my stories. My current offers are there. We're announcing another one tomorrow. And you'll meet my Frenchie. Her name's Pancake. You'll see my life. And all the if you want to get to know me and how to come into my world, Instagram is my main. So yeah, just follow me at mhaas, EMM, and then HAAS.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I loved chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you. This was so fun.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you found it helpful, please share it on social media and tag me at It's Lauren Saracione and at Queen Bold EQ. You can just search my name, Lauren Saracione, on the IG, and you should find both of those handles, no problem. I'm going to leave you with a few little snippets of the ladies who were in the very first Queen's Gambit with me. The Queen's Gambit is my year-long transformation where I give you all the coaching you need for mindset, emotions, habits, diet, exercise, and self-care.
First of all, thank you for just giving of yourself and allowing us to be in this space today. That's been really amazing to just see how much you're giving to us. So thank you for that.
Because I'm not gonna go shame myself anymore. I'm not gonna go fucking judge myself. I'm fucking over it. I'm so fucking done with that old game. It's just an old game. I'm not gonna play anymore.
Adding upper body has actually been really good. I enjoy it because I've always been so scared of it.
The energetic stuff has been really great for me because I think that's what my soul was craving. I've been wanting to know more, but where do I start? So this has been super great.
New identity, new person, new body.
And it was I could never get past certain plateaus, but this makes so much sense.
Exercises go really well. It's so much fun to have finally a gym.
I remember because it was so significant to me. That was after COVID. It was really difficult for me to go back because I had gained weight. I felt really heavy after having been lighter and through COVID and not working out. That day was really nice because you encouraged me to continue. When you told me you're strong, sweetie, you can go heavy, and I was really? That helped me just kind of develop that confidence.
And I'm well, I'm gonna take responsibility for the mistake, but I'm not gonna shaming or blaming or judging. It's not gonna help me take the responsibility. It just makes it harder. So why the F should I make it hard for yourself? Come on.